Welcome back to Live at 5. It is an Edward Jones Monday on the show, as it usually is. That means we're joined by a financial expert from Edward Jones, and today it is Mark Matthews. Good afternoon, Mark. How are you?
I'm fine, Alan. Good afternoon.
Good. I'm still buckled up watching this stock market go up and down and up. It's a very volatile time for sure in your business.
You know, it is, and especially on the heels of really, even with COVID in 20, about 3 years of some pretty steady markets that spoil us all. And we kind of think that's the way it should be all the time. And truthfully, the markets have experienced a 10% correction just about once a year since 1900. But it's easy to forget about those when they don't happen very often or for a while. And so, lately here we've kind of had a normal correction, but it seems like it's more just because we haven't had one for a while.
I know a lot of folks like to look at their 401ks at least once a week, go on, click on there and see what's going on. And lately, as you've mentioned, the correction, they've been seeing more downs than ups. How scared should they be?
Well, if a person is properly diversified, you hear something about that all the time, and have an investment mix that reflects your true risk tolerance, not the one you wished you had or somebody else thought might be right for you, but your own, you should be okay and know that good investments are going to fluctuate. That means down and up both sometimes. Doesn't mean that they shouldn't be owned, but if you think that things will never go down for a while, then you really don't quite know what you have and what kind of things you're dealing with, because things that don't fluctuate. And that might feel good in the short term. Over time, that can work against you because they don't fluctuate. And you lose ground to the cost of living and that type of thing. You mentioned looking at your 401k often. And one of the points I was going to make about things people can do to kind of deal with the market. And one is, kind of take a break from daily observations or even weekly. If you have the right kind of mix that's appropriate for you, it doesn't need to be looked at every time you turn around. It's tempting to do that, and sometimes it's nicer not to do that, to aggravate yourself. And you can find, if you look at it, say, monthly, the fluctuations will probably, in many cases, be less dramatic because you're not looking at it every day. I know people that tell me that they just file their statements away and don't look at them. I'm not saying that's the right thing all the time, but sometimes that's not a bad thing to do, just to not aggravate yourself or cause you to make a decision that feels good right now, but not really in your best interest. Another point I'll make is to give those kind of decisions some time, sleep on them, think about them before you make any big financial moves, whether it's overnight or 3 days or over the weekend. But give yourself a little time to see if those initial thoughts still sound good, a little while later on. And they still might. If they do, take some action. If they don't, you can be glad you kind of took a break and waited a little bit before you react to your first emotion. And one of the ways you can also kind of deal with that is to have an accountability partner. For a lot of folks, that might be their financial advisor that they can speak with and voice their concerns and make sure they have the kind of mix that they should, and if they don't, get it changed, or even just someone else that you trust and know to talk through your feelings and thoughts before you take a rash action that may work against you over time.
All right. Well, Mark, you had mentioned that at the beginning that we've been spoiled these last few years for sure. So someone that may be newer in investing might come to expect those 15, 20% every year, but that's just not the way it works. How can folks quickly reach you at Edward Jones or one of your associates?
Great question. If you go to the edwardjones.com website and punch in St. Joseph, Missouri, you'll get a roster of our local advisors. There's several of us dotted around town, and can connect, with an internet message or just a phone call. We're all nearby and happy to hear from folks and try to help them.
You got it. Mark Matthews from Edward Jones, as always. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Alan.
You bet.